Aloha everybody, this is Rachel and I'm hanging out in the backyard with the dogs and the goat and stuff, and just kind of getting comfortable, having my little afternoon smoothie snack of banana and papaya. And I thought I'd do a video to talk about lowering your blood pressure naturally. I kind of mentioned that in the last little recipe video that I did, so I thought I'd touch up on it. Because I think that it's pretty important. A lot of people, and I'm sure that you know this, have high blood pressure and suffer from it on a daily basis. That could be you, or if it's not you, it's probably somebody in your family, somebody that you know that's close to you that you probably worry about. I know that my blood pressure, aside from me having high blood pressure, I know multiple people in my family and friends that also have high blood pressure that they try to work on. They took a different route than I did, and funny enough, I'm the only one that's not on blood pressure medication or trying to struggle with it anymore. You know, a few years ago I started having high blood pressure, and the doctors kept telling me, you know, it's getting worse and worse, and it finally was in the low 160s over like 110, which is pretty huge. The only thing I was ever told from my doctors was, you know, you've got to work out. You've got to get out there and exercise. That is how you're going to take care of your blood pressure. That's the only way. Otherwise, you're going to be on medication for the rest of your life, and that's just the way it is. So I tried, you know. They told me to walk, so that's what I did. Every day, I, like a good girl, got up and I walked, and you know, 30-minute walk, 45 minutes, an hour. It didn't really matter what I did. It didn't work. I'd keep going back to the doctor, and they'd say, well, aren't you exercising? I guess you need to do more because your blood pressure's not going down. It's kind of hard, too, because it's hard to stay motivated to work out every day when you're not eating the right foods to fuel your body to give you the energy to do so. So it was kind of, without me even realizing it, you know, I was missing the huge component there, which is the diet, and something that no doctor's ever talked to me about before. Sorry, the dogs are... Hey! Stop it. They're roughhousing over there next to the goat. Gotta keep that goat protected. So, anyway, you know, I probably struggled for almost 2 years with that, and I didn't see any improvement in my blood pressure no matter what I did. You know, I thought I was doing the right things when I did finally start doing some diet stuff. I cut out the red meat and started eating just chicken. I didn't eat fast food. I, you know, cooked everything at home. I started eating whole wheat bread instead of white. Hey! Goodness, do you hear these dogs? They're going crazy over here. This is going to be, I don't know if I can finish this video right now. It's kind of intense out here. I didn't realize it would be so intense. Anyway, see, I lost my train of thought. Sorry, guys. Here, let me show you. They're roughhousing. There's the goat in the background. Anyhow, that's what they like to do with their day. So, back to where I was. You know, hey there. I thought I was doing the right things. I changed my diet from reading books and stuff like that, and kind of listening to friends and family who have gone to, you know, like naturopathic doctors and stuff like that. And, you know, I was told time and time again how important those carbs were and how important it was to eat the protein and that kind of a thing, that it would keep me full so I could do the workouts and stuff like that. But the thing is, honestly, I did not see much of an improvement. I mean, my blood pressure went down a little bit, but, you know, nothing. They still wanted to put me on blood pressure medication, you know, and I wasn't having it. I was pretty desperate. And so, finally, when I did decide to do the vegetarian diet, I started seeing a little bit more improvement. Although I was still eating cheese and that kind of stuff, the blood pressure did start to go down. So I decided at that point not to use medication or see the doctor anymore for my blood pressure at the time. I just was not... Hey! Stop it! I was not somebody else is there disciplining them. That's why I'm not getting up to do it. Anyway, I lost my train of thought again. My goodness, this is going to be not the greatest of videos. But anyway, I just started listening to myself and doing my own research, and I kind of started reading like Dr. Fuhrman books and books by Neil Bernard, Dr. Neil Bernard, and stuff like that, vegan books about becoming a vegan. And that's when I really decided, you know, my husband wanted to go vegan and cut out the cheese and the dairy and stuff, and I was a little hesitant, but at this point I said, hey, it's worth a shot, you know. What's the worst thing that can happen? Hi there. And, hi. And it worked, I'd say, within 2 weeks. Vegan, not even raw, but vegan. My blood pressure was totally down. My cholesterol was normal, and actually my cholesterol had always been normal. It was never on the high side. But it stayed that way, and it went down even more. But the point is, my blood pressure was down into the 130s, the high 130s, over about 76. Huge improvement, and I'm talking within 2 weeks. That's a huge deal. Friends and family kind of, well, they weren't impressed, even the ones that still had their problems with blood pressure. You know, they kind of people would dismiss it and say, oh yeah, I went to a naturopath doctor, you know, and I tried doing what they said and it didn't work, you know. But when it came down to asking them, well, what did you do? You know, did you cut out the meat and the dairy and stuff? They couldn't answer that question because they know they didn't. And they weren't willing to, they're not willing to contribute the fact that my blood pressure went down thanks to my diet. So that's okay though, you know, in due time. All I can do is lead by example. That's what I always tell myself. I can't worry about what other people think, and so that's also something else I wanted to talk to you about. But really quickly here to finish up the blood pressure thing, the point is, cut out the animal products and your blood pressure is going to go down. There's just no doubt about it. It's there's no getting around it. It's just the way that it is. Hi, little guy. Isn't he cute? Okay, so the point is, yeah, cut it out. Cut out the junk. Junk is dairy. Junk is meat. It is the way that it is. You know, I hear people all the time, almost every day they tell me, whether it's through Facebook or through, you know, a number of my other accounts, when we kind of talk about this, friends tell me this in person, you know, and they say, I just eat that moderately, so it's okay. You know, I eat cheese in moderation, which to them could be, you know, every day, but it's still in moderation because it doesn't make up the bulk of their diet. But that's kind of like saying just because you eat M&Ms once in a while makes the M&Ms healthy for you. You know, just because you're eating these foods in moderation doesn't mean that they're healthy for you still. And so that's something that people just don't put two and two together like that. I think a lot of it just has to be with them feeling threatened for their lifestyle and feeling defensive over it, because I do not ever try to push my lifestyle onto people, but yet I get told things like, I can cook, I'll throw you under the table with vegetarian cooking, you know, but they don't realize their style of vegetarian cooking is a half a bottle of olive oil mixed with, you know, a ton of white pasta and a half a loaf of sourdough bread. And to them that is just as healthy as my zucchini pasta with my raw marinara, you know, or even my cooked quinoa with steamed vegetables. And, you know, to me, I think it's crazy. I sit there and I think, and I wonder, you know, these are smart people, and yet they still try to compare their unhealthy foods with my way of eating and tell me that they're doing all the right things and they're doing just as much as me. And yet they still have these problems, you know. They have, you know, pains, they have congestion, they have stomach issues, they have, you know, heart palpitations, they have skin rashes, you know, the whole 9 yards. And then they complain to me about this, and then I mentioned something maybe, and that's when the defenses come up. So, that's kind of what I wanted to get into, was dealing with others, you know, dealing with others that try to challenge you and your way of life as you go through this journey. It's not an easy one, and not everyone's going to agree with what you're doing, that's for sure. And those are actually probably the easiest ones to deal with, because they're not the ones that are asking you for or complaining to you or trying to talk to you about any kind of health issues. They just have their own opinion, and that's the way that it is. And so those ones are easy to just kind of sweep under the rug. But when you're dealing with friends and you're dealing with family who like to try to challenge you and say things to you like, oh, you're going to get tired of it. Oh, wait until it's not working for you no more. Oh, yeah, I tried to be a vegetarian years ago, and I just had to say enough is enough. You know, and I was at the, when I buy things such as eggs for the dogs, because we feed the dogs a lot of, well, we feed them anything but pet food, which is a whole nother story. Anyway, they're not vegan or anything, but we do feed them, whole foods. Lots of fruits and veggies and that kind of a thing, huh? Yes. So anyway, when I go to buy eggs, for example, for the dogs, and people get excited, this has happened more than once on one occasion. I mean, it even happens at the farmer's market where we go and buy fruits and vegetables, and they also sell locally grown, free-range organic eggs. And, I buy a dozen, and the lady gets so excited, you're actually going to eat eggs? No, they're not for me. Oh. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, these people get excited at the thought that I might eat an animal product or something, and if they find out that I don't, they get disappointed, or people say, oh, you eat eggs sometimes? Well, that's really good. That makes me feel better. What do you mean? I don't get that. Are you trying to tell me that you think I'm not healthy because I don't eat animal products like you do? Move over, bud. You're in my square here. And, no. Lay down. Stay. He wants to get in the picture too, I guess. And, it's just kind of funny to me. I don't have any problems that I complain about. I don't have any health issues that anybody ever hears me complain about. The only thing that I've done is my skin's gotten clearer, I've lost some weight, and I have more energy, and I work out more than almost anybody I know. And that's not saying a lot because I haven't been doing nearly as much as I should have lately. So, and the thing is, it hurts my feelings sometimes. Sometimes people do say things that hurts my feelings. Like, I'm trying to be high and mighty or something just because I have my own choices of how I eat. And what I do in life. And they feel like, because they don't agree with me, that somehow they need to try to change me or make me conform to what they agree and feel with. And, the reason that doesn't really jive with me is because I don't expect anyone to eat vegan, eat vegetarian, eat raw or nothing. I don't care. I really don't. I mean, it's their body and it's their life. And so I don't judge anyone for that, and I wish that they wouldn't judge me, but it is what it is. I'm sure that you can understand where I'm coming from there. And so how I handle it is I'm a couple different ways. If I can, very politely and stuff, I will be honest and I'll have a conversation about it. But most of the time it's not worth it. I just don't say anything. I lead by example. I don't say a word. I let it go, and I keep doing what I'm doing, and I don't falter, and I make sure that they understand that. What they say and do is not going to push me away from them as a friend or a family member, and it's also not going to make me change the way I'm doing and what I'm doing. I'm getting results. I'm getting the results I want, and so I just don't understand why people want me to do what they're doing when they're not getting the results that they want. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And it can be frustrating, but it's really not that huge of a deal. It only is if you let it be. One thing is, one way to stay away from that is just not to talk, don't push it on anybody, and don't tell people how, healthy you're feeling because of your diet, and stuff like that. I made that mistake when I first did it, I'm feeling great, I lost all this weight, how I did it, I went vegan, and then I went, Ron, you should try all these, let me make you these foods, and that really can push people the wrong way, and I can understand that now. I didn't realize that I was doing that before, but I also didn't realize I was pushing people's buttons and making them uncomfortable in ways that is hard for them to handle and deal with. It made it feel like I was challenging them and their ethics and their way of life, which I was not doing, but I didn't realize that that's how they took it. And so now I just don't say anything at all. Sure, I say I'm feeling great, but I leave it at that. And people say, wow, your skin is so clear. How do you do that? I just try to take care of myself. I don't say too much about it because I'd say 95% of the time ends up in something bad. I mean, there's been times when people ask and they find out I'm a vegan, and then I spend the next 10 minutes listening to these people talk about how much they love pork and cheese and how they'll never change it, and then they actually start getting graphic about killing chickens and stuff like this. I mean, for some reason, the word vegan or vegetarian brings some of these meat eaters into a whole different level where they have to not only defend themselves, but go on the attack and try to make me feel uncomfortable. So it's just ironic. So that's why I just don't say much about it. Plus, who cares? You know, who really cares? You're doing this for yourself. You're not doing it for anybody else. And you okay? That's the bottom line. So I've kind of rambled on and on and on. I don't even know if I'll put this video up. Takeaways from this video: if you have a lot of dogs, they are a handful. If you have high blood pressure or any other type of ailment, get rid of the junk. Get rid of the meat and the cheese and see what happens. I swear, you will get results. If you know somebody, give them a book about it, you know. Don't beat them over it, but give them a book about it, or send them some videos, you know, of people that have done it before them. But one thing's for sure, you can't change other people. So if you know people that have ailments like diabetes or high blood pressure and they're not willing to make the changes on their own, you can't force them. So don't get frustrated or upset about it. Just kind of subtly keep giving little hints and reminders and love pushes, like I like to call it. And then the other thing to take away is, you know, keep stuff to yourself, and that way it can't feel personal and feel like you're being attacked. You know, those kind of things can stay with you for days because it feels so personal. And I know this from personal experience. It happens to this day. I mean, something recently happened that has been on my mind, and so that's kind of what kind of drew me to make this part of the video, and to help remind myself, you know, I can't dwell on what other people think and what other people feel and say. I know how I feel. I know the results that you can get with a high raw vegan diet. I know the results you can get with a regular vegan diet. I know what works for me, and that's the most important thing right there. So I'm going to finish up my smoothie. Nice and thick. The dogs want some. They love papaya. And I'm going to go back to work. I have a lot of stuff to write today. Lots of deadlines coming up tomorrow. And I will talk to you later. You guys have a wonderful day. Get your fruits and veggies on. And get your walk on. Aloha.